All right, so let's take a look at some of this thought process. One of the first things that I had the opportunity to study, and when I first started learning some of these commercial things, was I had gotten it was a book. Actually, it was an educational program by a professor, I think at some college back east, and he had presented a short course on negotiable instruments. And so I studied on that quite a bit to get a flavor for it. I used to, it's kind of funny, I got one of those little cassette portable recorders with earphones, and I would hang it on my belt and put the plugs in my ears, and listen to this stuff over and over again as I went out and worked in the garden. I mean, I used to, go out and dig in the garden and plant things, and thin out the carrots and everything, but I'd always have, a little recorder on my belt, and I was listening to these things over and over again so I could get it firmly fixed in my mind how some of those things worked. And so, you can do the same thing with, this information we have here. But anyway, of great interest to me had to do with the execution of negotiable instruments. And he spent a great deal of time differentiating between, the holder of an instrument versus the holder in due course. So the knowledge of the difference between holder and holder in due course is especially important when you consider what can be done with acceptance for value. Now there's a definition here under the Uniform Commercial Code. It's UCC 3-115, that'd be 3-115, where it talks about incomplete instruments. It says here, but a mere holder of an instrument does not have any rights or defenses on the instrument. And so what happens typically, you go to your mailbox and you reach inside the mailbox and here's a letter. And inside the letter there's a presentment. So by going out and getting the mail and opening up the envelope, then at that point you become the holder of the presentment, but you are not holder in due course of the instrument, and so you cannot execute on that instrument until you reach the status of holder in due course. Now, if you do the acceptance for value and attach your autograph to that instrument, then in fact you do become holder in due course. Now you can imagine the implications of this. For instance, let's say you go down to the courthouse and the judge says, well, we got this complaint here against you. Do you have a copy of it? He's like, no, it's the first I heard of it. And so the judge or the prosecutor hands you a copy of the complaint. Now again, this is just like going to the mailbox. All of a sudden you stand there holding this negotiable instrument, but it's incomplete. And you're only the holder of the thing. And so you cannot execute on that particular instrument. But as luck would have it, neither can the judge, because the judge is not the holder in due course either. No one at that point has reached the holder in due course status until somebody accepts it, because acceptance for value is guarantee of payment. That's why we accept things, so we can guarantee the thing will be paid. And so again, you go to the mailbox, you get a presentment. You go to the court, you get a presentment. And somebody, process server, comes by and presents you with something. So you're holding it, but you can't execute it yet until you do something about it. So a little bit of knowledge of negotiable instruments and holder versus holder in due course status is important for your comprehension of why it is acceptance for value works.